Start this. And welcome. We've got some new faces on, and I'm excited for that. Home, welcome. This is your first meeting. So what we do is we go through and do a check-in, and how many contacts, personal notes, and appointments you set for the following week. Okay.
Okay.
And that's what that looks like. So we go do a check-in. You won't be expected. Listen, learn, right?
Yes.
The adage is this: if you contact 10 people a day, there's no way you're not going to be successful in real estate. How many people are willing to contact 10 people a day? You want to be successful?
Yes.
Contact 10 people a day, have real estate discussions. My coach doesn't let me count it unless I ask somebody, do you or anybody you know is looking to buy, sell, invest in real estate? I leave out the rent part because I don't want to deal with the renting. All right. Hey, come on. I'm honest and I'm transparent. Y'all can laugh at me now, but
It's the truth.
it's the truth. The renting
Yeah.
is the bad side. So, Jackie, you want to start us off? How did last week
Sure.
go? How many contacts? How many notes?
It went pretty well. I talked to at least talk to them, 6 people, and just today. And I'm working on my database, and I found a YouTube situation that had talked about contingencies, which is what I'm worried about. And I read a lot on where the market is, and it looks like the prices, a lot of the listings are moving down in this area, at least 10,000 just lately.
Perfect. Okay. So very well done. Bart?
Well, I don't know. I was going to take a pass.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd rather just take a pass.
I will tell you this. I know it's frustrating. I know technology can be frustrating at that point. Don't let it discourage you, right? Keep plugging forward, and know the bottom line is, how much technology do you need to pick up the phone and have a conversation, right? It's a check-in. We call it a check-in. This is why scripts is important, right? When we get rid of those limiting beliefs. It's hard enough to start your own business, and the number one thing you'll have in real estate is longevity. But also you want to have the opportunity to just get in front of people, have conversations. People don't know how much you care until you show them how much you care.
I believe you.
Okay. Brandon, how are you?
Not too bad. Happy to finally be able to patch in for my first call here.
I was going to say, I don't think we've met. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So yeah, name's Brandon. Just getting started in real estate. Passed my exam on the 16th of this month. So I've been kind of bugging Mara, bugging Tom a little bit. Part of the reason I haven't been here is I got totally lost in communication on this whole process, and I thought I needed to finish with RMLS and the Springfield Board of Realtors before I could do anything. So I've just been kind of hanging out, wasting time, didn't even know it. But Mara kind of cleared that up for me Friday. So now I'm finally actually, starting to do my job.
Good. Very cool. Well, welcome. So take notes, take a listen, and we'll go from there. Emily.
Hi there. I had a busy weekend. I actually talked to people around my block because I was painting outside my house about I told them that I recently had a CMA on my house and did one last week, and was surprised and shocked by how much equity I have in the house in the last 2 years, and just let them know that I am a realtor in the area. That I know the area. So it was about 4 people around the block that I was able to communicate with over the weekend. But Other than that, I did a few social media posts, just working on growing that, and that's about it.
Nice. Okay, perfect. Aisha, how'd you do last week?
You mean since Thursday?
Yeah.
So I devote most of Fridays to my other business because I do market on Saturdays. So Friday is kind of, we don't have this class on Fridays. So I use that day to kind of screen print. But I did start working on my flyer that I want to kind of talk about myself to other agents to kind of ask them if I could do some open houses for them. And I've talked to two people at the Saturday market that were my vendors on left and right side of me, both like ladies in their 50s probably, and they both are homeowners. So I offered to give both of them practice writing a CMA. Neither one was interested in potentially selling a home. So they didn't really want me to write the CMA to try to get them to sell their house. So I promised them I wouldn't try to do that, but I got to talk about a lot about the market with them that they didn't know about. And I think it'll be useful information because they all have like children that they are looking for homes. And one of the lady, it turns out that she's my neighbor. So she'll know people in the neighborhood. And when I get my business cards by next weekend, I'm planning on kind of walking around my neighborhood. I did start a Facebook page, but I'm kind of holding off on making any posts because I don't have time to focus on the social media right now. I'm going to be taking a Facebook class in a few weeks, so I'm going to kind of hold off on it until I start taking that class. I did sign up for RedX today, so that way I could start making calls every day and start trying to build up more leads. I downloaded a book called Sold, and the author is a Keller Williams agent who does the Bigger Pockets podcast. And that's been really informative. And I've ordered a bunch of books, some of which have gotten lost in the mail, or they're not coming. I don't know where they are, taking forever. But
Okay.
I've done a few other things too. I ordered a printer. Oh, and I got a new computer. That actually took a while to get set up. So
Good.
yeah, that's about it.
Progress. April.
Okay, I'm here. So I haven't really done much of increasing my database through phone calls. I've had a lot of excuses, some good, some not so good. So I don't know what to say about that other than I better get my butt in gear.
I will, guys, there's nothing to feel bad about. Okay. I will tell you, this is your business. It's
Yeah.
going to expand to where you want it to go. If you put nothing behind it, it's not going to go anywhere. If you put
Right.
everything behind it, it will go somewhere. It will expand to what you want it to.
So yeah, so I'm a normally super drama-free person, but I've had nothing but drama since I got my license, and I just have to get rid of the excuses and do what I need to do. That's all there is to it.
Perfect. That's why we have accountability, right?
Thank you.
When you get on
Yes.
here, do you feel, oh man, disappointed, or are you
I
accepting?
do. I avoid getting on because of that, which is totally counterproductive.
I was going to say, don't do that, because then you're making it worse, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Accept the accountability and the responsibility. Say, okay, if I do my 10 contacts, all we're trying to do is train you on a daily basis to show you what makes it work in real estate.
Yeah.
Everybody who has 2 jobs got into real estate because they want 1 job. There's no limits to what you guys can do.
Definitely.
Your business will expand to what you focus on, right?
Right.
And I think that's kind of the big thing that we need to understand is that this is going to be on your timeline. Okay, we can't make you be great, but in order to be great, you have to engage. You're engaged, we will make you be great. Okay, there,
Okay.
I'm off my soapbox.
Thank you for your soapbox.
I just would like to add that you have a lot of people that are really feeling the same way you are.
100%.
So just know that we got your back.
Thank you very much.
And
You're
don't
welcome.
forget, it's going to feel worse if you don't show up. Don't let it compound. And I would let everybody know that one thing. Don't let one moment make it a bad day, right? Don't let it
Well,
compound.
part of it is some of the things that have happened, especially the last few weeks. My dad had a clot in his lung, and now my mom had a bleed in her brain, and I have to go up there on Thursday to help with that. And
Those aren't
she's not
excuses. Those are
doing
life.
well.
That's life.
Yeah, that is, and I got to find a way through it.
And the number one thing is, is family, right? What does Keller Williams always preach?
Family
Mm-hmm.
and being kind.
God, family, business, faith, family, business, whatever you choose, right? But family
Right.
always come first.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it's true. So I'm gonna.
You have our
Okay.
prayers.
Thank
And
you.
have our support. If you need anything, we're here.
All right. Well, hopefully I'll be on every day this week except for the day I'm traveling. So we'll see.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay. Cal,
Hi,
how are you?
good. So I'm kind of in a similar boat as Brandon. I actually just brand new getting started. I completed my new employee orientation this morning. So I'm originally from Eugene area and moving back to the area after about 8 years of kind of living in Hawaii and Arizona. So I just got back in the middle of last week, and I'm kind of in the process now of reaching out to all my old friends and contacts and just kind of letting them know I'm back in the area and what I'm doing and everything like that. So
Love
excited to get started.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Welcome. Welcome. We got 3
Thank you.
first timers. This is great.
Yeah.
Rebecca.
So I've had a busy weekend again. I did attend an event where I was able to have several contacts that we talked about real estate and a few vendors as well. So I've got their contacts that I'm going to put into command so that I can call on them as needed. And then I also have a buyer who's interested in moving into the area after his lease expires in March. So I told him that, we'd start down the lender avenue in December or so. And then I'll keep in contact with him before that to let him know how the market's going and see what he's interested in and kind of narrowing that down for him. And then I was able to get my code of ethics certification done this weekend. Registered for my RMLS orientation coming up soon, and had a business meeting with my team about goals and such. And then also my husband and I have made several appointments for viewing some properties for ourselves that we're trying to buy down in Eugene because we're still living in Portland now. So we're going to come down tomorrow and look at a bunch of places, and hopefully we'll be able to find something soon.
Very cool. Love it.
Yeah. I had a question. Are we going to know anything more about Aaron West? Is he coming on part of our group as a coaching?
Aaron West. Give me the background.
Mara sent an email introducing Aaron West as the new productivity coach. I'm just wondering if that is part of our team or
He's Eugene, Springfield.
Yeah,
Matt wouldn't really know about it.
I do know about it.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I shouldn't have butted in. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to make sure I didn't remember his name. So yes. So basically, all I know is what's happening. She's bringing Aaron on to help, and She's going to be the general manager, basically, of the productivity programs for the 5 market centers.
Got it.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes, we will eventually meet him
Right.
or
Okay.
her. I don't know.
Okay.
Is it her? Or is it him?
Him.
He,
He? Okay. Yeah. I have
Yes.
no clue.
did you say he's working all of Oregon, like 5 market centers?
No, Mara is. Mara will be
okay.
like general manager. She'll be our coach to coach you guys,
Got it.
type of thing. Okay.
Awesome. Thanks.
Very
Matt.
good question. I just don't know when that's going to happen. I know she's gone this week, so I would probably expect sometime next week.
Okay,
But
cool.
don't hold me to that.
Okay.
Kimberly.
Okay, there we go. Gosh, I've been so busy and I feel like I need to come up with a new bumper sticker, WWMD. What would Matt do? Because my Thursday at the end of class, I got a voicemail from a lady who was referred to by one of my friends. They work together, and called her back, and she wants me to represent her as a buyer. And she absolutely knows nothing, I mean, zero, about the home buying, home selling terms, anything. So she said, I don't have a clue, but she's going through an ugly, ugly split situation. And I met with her. So I put some stuff together. I actually kind of finagled my way through and put together some sort of a buyer's packet, which I intuitively, I just thought I need to have something to kind of walk myself through it. I just kind of went by the, seat of my pants. Did it in the KW design. Took me a couple hours, but I got, it was worth it to put that time in, because now I have them for future. Customized it for her. Went and met with her Saturday at 2:00, and I was really glad that I had that information, because she needed to be educated. She didn't know any of the terms. She didn't know the process. She didn't know anything about buying a home. And so by the time I left there, we were hugging, and she was a different person from when I got there. So that felt so good and really cool to be able to take somebody in a really horrific situation that she's going through, and to help her kind of start to see the light at the end of the tunnel. So then I no sooner got home, and she texted me and she said, we're so excited to work with you. We want to go look at some houses tomorrow. And she's super qualified. She's going to have a lot of money out of the sale of her home. But the issue is she wants to keep her house payment low, because she has a 29-year-old son who's in a wheelchair. And so she's very limited on the homes that she's seeing and what she wants. And I think, so we looked at 3 houses yesterday, and I think she was a little bit discouraged, because she's coming from 9 acres, 10-year-old home, to a city with neighbors and a lower price range. So I've kind of been struggling how to help her navigate that.
Empathize.
But I'm pretty proud of myself, because she's going to be a really high maintenance buyer, but I'm excited because it's giving me a lot of learning opportunities.
Perfect. I think that's great. And type in your phone number. I have a flow chart.
Oh,
And kind of help
okay.
you understand the buying process.
Yeah.
And I put it in my buyer's presentation that basically I use it to keep me online. Once
Yeah.
you're financing, this is the next step.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Luckily, she's already pre-approved, but she had no clue how much. She didn't know what she could afford. So I called her lender, and we got that figured out. And so we knew what price point to look at. But she's going to be, I mean, that whole, when you were talking last week, Matt, about the emotional part of it, this was like, on the emotional part is like 100. So luckily I'm comfortable with that. And so, just by my personality type. And so I was able to, I think, really be a comfort to her. And we're the same age, like we're in our 50s. So we have that in common. And, but yeah, talk about a loaded gun right from the start.
And
but I like it because I'm going to learn a ton through this.
there's no better feeling
Exactly.
when you can connect with somebody on a different level. I went to a country music festival, Sweet Home, this weekend, and I was out throwing some cornhole, and this guy was looking around the corner in his wheelchair,
Mm-hmm.
and he was just watching us. And I walked over to him. I said, "You want to come throw?" And he's like, "Well, I can't use my legs." I'm like, "I don't care." So let's go throw. So he wheeled himself over, and we were walking and we were talking. He's had 2 heart attacks and 3 strokes in the last year.
Wow.
Right? Cried 3 times while he was throwing.
Aww.
Every time he threw the ball, every time he threw the corn, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you get to understand what they're going through on a different level, life changes.
Yeah, it's and the one thing, because they currently live out, an acreage away from everything, and her son, he's 29 years old, and he's a quadriplegic from like T6 down, and you could tell, like, she wants out of the house because it's bad memories and things like that, but she doesn't want to live with neighbors, but she's recognizes that she's going to have to live in town. So I was telling her, this could be really good for your son because he can wheel right down the road to the Dairy Mart or wherever. And he's 29. He should be out hanging with people his own age.
Agree.
And she was like, I never thought of that. And I think that was really cool, just to enlighten her to another possibility.
Absolutely.
Can I ask, is there anything for your help too? Is there anything on the MLS that indicates that a house is handicap accessible?
No, you'll know by the pictures. You'll know by the pictures if it's an extra wide hallway, if there's a ramp going into the door.
Okay.
Yeah. Fortunately, as long as there's only one step into the home, she's already prepared and she has money set aside to do a ramp into the home. And then also the shower. He has a shower chair. And so she needs kind of a specific configuration for the bathroom, but she knows exactly what she needs. So that's really good. And she's prepared to make any modifications. So her expectations for that are good. So that's helpful.
Great.
Congratulations on your first client.
Thank you.
And the other part is just because you have your first client, don't forget about lead generation.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Me?
Did you say Jake?
Yeah.
Oh, hey.
Jake.
Jane?
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry about that, Jane.
Jane, you're next.
Okay, there we go. Okay, Thursday, my mother-in-law is wanting to move down from Clackamas to the Kaiser-Salem area. So we showed a home to her on Thursday right during Ignite. So the home was disappointing, but again, it's another experience to open up a house, walk through it, be critical at looking at it. It didn't take a whole lot to be critical, but she didn't care for the house. We did try and look at a couple other ones, but there were some things that didn't make them available to look at on that particularly hot day. So I agree. It's a little weird to show a house and be in a different world. And so for people that feel a little awkward, I know too, I'm trying really hard to get used to being on the phone and recognizing that I'm in a different world. And so I spent a couple times in front of groups of people, handed out some cards and trying to make more contacts. And I'm just going to go one step at a time and learn as much as I can while I try and get people to do business with. I was disappointed in one person that was seriously looking into buying a house, and their feet are cold now because of the high prices. And Matt, question for you.
Yep.
His comment to me was that they feel like there was going to be opportunity for people to continue not paying their rents due to what happened with COVID. And now the scuttle is that maybe with these renters that were delinquent or deferring, aren't going to have that deferment, our house is going to wind up on the market big time. And is that going to start dropping the price? So that was the latest piece of scuttle I heard today. And I'll leave you with that, Matt.
I read that the eviction moratorium is over. So you obviously heard the same thing. Okay, what does that mean? What does that mean for the market? What does that mean?
Foreclosures?
If you, no,
No?
not
Landlord selling?
So
landlord.
hey, Matt, what would be a good, what answer should I have given him then? Because I'm not going to say something I don't know anything about at that, because it was right in my face.
Here's
basically.
what we know. Here's what we know. There's 4 million homes in forbearance. Okay.
Okay.
Nationwide. What are they going to do? Right. This one, from what I understand, is more about the renters not paying.
Yeah.
So now the landlords can evict them,
Mhm.
which is then going to do what?
59.2, the final lap in the.
I'm sorry, I should have.
Now I don't want to know what the final lap's going to be done in. Anyway,
I think
honestly, it means that people are going to be evicted.
That's
They didn't step up. They didn't help them, which ultimately leads me to believe that they're probably not going to help the landlords who are behind in their payment. So we could see a slew of investment properties hit the market. Here's the thing. It's not going to, I don't think it will have short sales and foreclosures because people have enough equity that they can sell it and get out from under it.
okay.
Okay.
All right.
Does that is it how hard it is for Oregon to evict people? I thought it's very difficult. Take
They
a long
still-
time, right?
Yeah, they still have, yeah. Nationwide, it's not going to be that hard. Oregon's going to be a little more difficult. You still have your rules to follow. You still have 60B.
How long does it take?
What's that?
How long does it take to evict somebody through the proceeding if they have to go to court?
Well, if somebody wanted to evict their tenant, 30, it depends. What's the reason, right? If there's a reason to evict them, then it can be anywhere from 30 to 90 days. The biggest thing is are you going to have to pay them a relocation fee? Okay. Every circumstance is different. So I can't really comment on what it's going to take because every situation's different.
Right.
Okay. It could be as soon as 30 days, could be as much as 90 days.
Okay. Yeah.
It depends, right?
Even if you give them a notice, they don't move, and then you have to
Go to court.
Court.
You better make sure you follow all of the rules, cross your T's, dot your I's, because I've seen a landlord hold on to a check for 3 days. They got the check on Friday, didn't deposit in their bank account. The judge he even considered that the same as cashing it.
Okay.
Because they returned the check because they had already served notice. So they had to start the eviction process all over again.
Yes. The reason I asked is because we were actually the people I'm working with right now was looking at a house that needs to wants buyers to evict the tenants, and they don't want to do it. So I was like, this, sounds like Oregon really hard to do. That's probably why they kind of price it pretty low.
Got it? Yeah.
So I definitely need to understand more about that part, the eviction process. So
Very true. Very good to always get in contact with an attorney that can go over those rules.
okay. All right, I see.
All right.
I didn't know if I need to research myself. Anyway, I got some good news.
What's that?
I mean,
Your house went back on the market and it's already pending again.
Yes.
Jackpot. Am I right?
Yes, you're right. So I got into yesterday. We signed it this morning, and we lost, it's $1,000, but we had $10,000 to make it up. So hopefully, cross my finger. But I was in dark place last week.
Good.
I
Well,
had two
that's-
houses over the weekend. Yeah.
it's not anything personal, it's business, and we just move forward, right? Put your house back on the market, boom, there's another buyer.
I'm glad. I wasn't that sure, because the Zillow estimate dropped like 80K in 2 months. I mean, I don't know. Everything
How
I
many
don't
people?
think there were really that much activity to cause the price drop. What do you think?
Activity is everything. Activity is the main reason. Buyers, July and August, how many people have talked to their lenders to know that there's a 7% decrease in home applications in the last 3 weeks?
Yeah.
If people
No, I
aren't
was-
buying homes, guess what? Supply and demand. There's more supply than demand, then you're also going to see numbers, inventory go up,
Yeah. I'm just so relieved.
right?
Oh, and then this time I checked this guy. I talked to the lender, everything about his background.
And let me tell you, let me also say this. It's very important to see these trends and to know these trends because of the fact that if it's a hot market, you maybe want to go into your listing appointment and push the envelope. If it's a downturn where the numbers are going up and there's more inventory, this is your competition. This is why we do CMAs, what's active, what's pending, and what's sold, right? In the neighborhood. If there's more inventory, there's more competition, then you need to be more conservative on your price point.
Yeah. I did not want to drop, as you know. So I was like, gosh,
Exactly. Well done. Congrats.
yeah. But-
Nolan, can you talk? Are you working? We'll get back to Nolan. Good.
Matt, I have a quick question about that, the second market.
Yeah.
Is that, so Josh and I actually have been waiting for listings to be on the second market before we actually started even looking at them. Is that something that we could like talk to potential buyers about? What is that? rule
Absolutely.
on that?
And I do use it I use it in my listing presentations. Look, we know with technology, everybody has a cell phone.
Yeah.
Everybody has a home app. 97% of people have a home app, whether it's KW, John L. Scott, Zillow, Redfin, whatever it is. They're all curious as to what their home is worth
Right.
or what their neighbor's home is worth.
Yeah.
How many people do you run into at open houses that is the nosy neighbor that comes in and just wants to see what they've done decorating wise?
Right.
Right? The secondary market, you can actually do a search on the RMLS, and all you do is go into the filter area.
Mhm.
So on the top, it has, most frequently used.
Okay.
So those are the easy ones. But then on the bottom, right underneath it, it says filter. So
Right.
you can filter your search.
Yeah.
The most common search that I use is one, elementary schools. They're going to have a tighter area around the address. So as long as you know the elementary school, then you have an option. Okay. And the other one that I use is days on the market. If I know that my client doesn't have any money down, if they're tight financing wise, it doesn't mean they're out of the running. It just
Yeah.
means we're going to have to be more diligent in what we send them. And it's not going to be about what they send us, because that's going to be a colossal waste of time.
Right. For sure.
Okay. Look, I know you want these, but we're not in a position with your financing to be able to compete with these offers. So we're going to want to look at these houses instead
Right. Right.
and see if any of these are viable. And all you do in that filter area is type in DOM,
Right.
and then it'll say from what range to what range.
Yeah.
You can go 6 days, you can go 10 days, whatever you feel. 10 days out, 14 days out in this market means you're probably going to pay under list price.
Right.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
By the way, if you, little heads up is if you're in an open house and you bring up the secondary market, you're going to look like a genius. It will open
So
their
it's okay to do that at an open house?
Absolutely, 100%. 9 of my first 17 transactions were talking about the secondary market.
Nice. Awesome.
What does secondary market mean? I'm not sure I understand.
The secondary market is basically when something's been on the market. It used to be anywhere between 17 and 21 days where an agent was talking to their listing about lowering the price.
Okay.
If you could get in before that, you're checking maybe 14 days on the market, 15 days on the market, and hitting them before they get to that price reduction. And you're submitting an offer at below list price, and you're the only one at the table, because the minute that they drop the price, it's just like going new. It's going to bring back activity. And then your clients are probably going to be in a multiple offer situation again, which is what you're trying to avoid. But if you can get them before they drop their price, then you've got an opportunity. Ultimately, the seller, and this is what you explain, ultimately the seller gets to decide what he's going to sell for, but it strengthens your position for your buyers if they're the only one at the table.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
So it doesn't only increase your ability to get an offer accepted, because at that point they want an offer. And it's like, what's wrong with the house? The longer it sits on the market, all of your friends, all of your family are saying, what's wrong with the house? Why didn't anybody buy this house? It could be bad pictures. It could be bad marketing. It could be bad everything. Okay. So what we really need to do is, yes, we have this conversation. Why? Especially if you're at a house that just hit the market, you are going to see people that are frustrated. You're going to feel the frustration. And it's important to feel that, because then you can look at them and say, we want to ask questions that are going to be open-ended, that's going to get them to talk about themselves. Okay? Not like, how's the market, right? Or have them, do you have any questions about the market? Don't make it yes or no questions. Instead, change it up. Well, how long have you been looking? What brings you to the open house today? How long have you been looking? What are things that you're noticing as you're looking for a house to buy in this market? And then it's just like a vomit parade. Be prepared, because they're going to start spewing everything that they're noticing, and the frustrations are going to come out. And then you can just say simply this: well, have you looked at any houses on the secondary market? What's the secondary market? Are you working with a realtor? Oh, if they say yes, great. Go ask your realtor about the secondary market. Or when you want to know more, call me, right? We don't want to infringe on anybody's buyer broker agreement, but if they haven't signed with anybody, they're open target, and they get to choose. Who do they get to choose? Who's going to give them more information?
So Matt, when you see a house that has gone pending, and then it gets put back on the market, and then pending again, and then put back on the market, what does that tell you about,
Well, it depends. Is it back on the market due to financing? And usually the agent is first to say, hey, we're back on the market, no fault of the home.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's when we know.
Right.
If it doesn't say no fault to the home, most likely you're looking at an inspection. If something goes back on the market after 10 days, that tells you that there were some negotiating problems during the inspection period.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's important to know what you're looking at, and everybody knows about the RMLS and the history page.
Yeah.
All of these are very important because we take what we learn in working with buyers, and then how do we translate that to working with sellers?
Right.
If we think about it just exclusively as buyers, then we're essentially a buyer's agent, right?
Okay.
But when we start to transfer those thoughts into how to work with a seller,
Yeah.
I straight up say in my listing presentation, you do not want me coming in here after 2 weeks on the market. One, I'm going to be the only one at the table for my clients. So therefore, your negotiating stance between the other 3 points of negotiations isn't strong at all. You're over a barrel, right? And we want to put our sellers in the best position throughout the transaction, and they need to understand that negotiating the listing contract is just one part of the transaction. There's 3 other parts. If we can go into a listing appointment and say, look, you have 3 options. I try to give them options. We can sell this the hard way or the easy way. Which one would you like? Do you want to work with 97% of people that have a cell phone or 3% that don't? We need to fundamentally show them what everybody is seeing.
Yeah.
Not just what realtors can see anymore. It's what every buyer can see.
Mhm.
And we need to use that in our listing presentations. And that's how we're going to sell. I get calls regularly. Hey, you remember that listing you had? Is it still available? No, that was 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
Okay, it's pending.
Yeah.
My goal is 5 days or less for every listing. That's my goal. And we do that with pricing. How many people want to be the listing that's been on the market for 3 weeks? Brandon's first day and he knows.
Hey man, I sold cars for 3 years. I don't mess around.
Right? and I think that's the best part is when we understand what we have to do. And what does it take to sell your listing? We can have the best presentation. We can have the pre-listing packet that we send them over with a bunch of questions about where's their motivation, what price point do they want, right? But when we explain all of these situations, we show them, feel free to pull out your Google app, right? And Google their address right in front of them. This is what every buyer is going to see. When you can transfer a seller into a buyer's mentality, you take the emotion out of it. And that's when you're going to win. If they're walking through the house going, this is little Johnny's height chart. I remember when he came here and look how much he grew from summer to summer to summer. Whatever that looks like, right? It's going to be hard to get the price you want. Explain the situations. Look at your comps, look at your CMA, and then talk to them about how do we sell your listing? What's the best way to sell your listing right now? 5 days or less. Everybody has an app. They all have a filter. They're all looking. Something pops in. It goes right to their phone. The first thing they do is open it. Once they open it, then they look at the pictures. Then they look at the price. And then they compare the evaluation. All of these websites, whether they're right or wrong, have an evaluation. If the house is listed wrong, fix it for them.
Matt, do you mind if I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So what happens if they have it in their mind that their house is worth a certain price because they looked on Zillow, and then when you come with the CMA, you want to the price that you want to list it at's a lot lower than Zillow. Do you just tell them that, like, I mean, I can't remember if you had mentioned this before, because I actually had this conversation this weekend with the lady. Was don't they hire their own people to get the houses fixed, and it's like overpriced or whatever, so they price the houses kind of on the high end?
They start high, and one, it's very important to know how Zillow runs their operation, because 3 times as many people use Zillow as they use anything else. So right now, Zillow is owned by stocks, investors, and they want a piece of the market, right? So their estimates just to get back in the market are high. On average, Zillow is losing 27% just to get their house, just to get their sign in the yard. By the way, one thing you have to know before we go any further is 98% of stats are all made up. Okay.
That's a good
So,
one.
right. So one of the things that I would tell you is that, look, 27%. Everybody know the Zillow CEO sold his house for 800 less than his estimate. Does that discredit Zillow right there?
And he bought a house for $1 million over this estimate.
Right.
Yeah.
So how much does he believe in his estimate?
Not much.
But the problem is they made it easy that people could not talk to realtors and still know about their house.
So how would you overcome that objection then? Or like how would you phrase all of that in a way so the buyer could understand that you can't really trust this estimate?
Great. I know you're excited for what this estimate says, but did you know the CEO of Zillow actually sold his house for 800 less than his estimate? Why don't we stick to what's going on in your neighborhood and not necessarily what Zillow is saying, and go from there? You see, Zillow is starting to they're buying houses, and they come in and they offer you a huge amount. And then they come in and have their repair guy come in, their construction guy come in, assess damages and repairs, and they knock it down about 30%. And then they charge you 8 to 13%.
Also,
Emily, go ahead.
one thing I noticed with them is a lot of their sold prices are not accurate. I was comparing what the MLS says versus what their site says, and it's not accurate. So they're taking their data from inaccurate numbers and making up numbers. So yeah,
All that's huge.
I don't know. You could compare that with your buyers too.
I actually think that's great. You're paying attention to everything. If we're on top of Zillow, then we can counterproduce what everybody believes at the gospel, right? And what that looks like. And why should they work with a realtor? They should work with a realtor because we're the professionals. We know the process. We know what to look for. I have an argument both ways on everything. If you want to know what Zillow is going to offer you for your home just because they buy houses, give them a call. Give them a call, see what the final tally is. Go through the process. And then you know what you're up against as a real estate agent. They'll give you so what they do is they give you the bid. They come in, assess it, and then they give you a final price. And then they tell you they're going to pay 8 to 13% for commissions or real estate or whatever fees. You get 8 to 13% on fees. I only charge 6. So we have a gap there, right? But if we understand how it works, so then once you get your final price, call me back. We'll put it in the market and we'll see what we can get for it.
How is Zillow making a profit when they turn around and sell this house? I mean,
they're not. And
so are they what?
They're not, and they don't care.
This kind of reminds me of
They want market share.
like back when you could Flix or Netflix, like back when you could order the CDs or whatever. And I was like, how are they even making any money? Like, I don't get it. Like when you paid the postage and everything.
Yeah.
But then they like had a secret plan and they
What?
took over. So I'm wondering if Zillow is doing the same thing.
Exactly. But Netflix went through its own hiccups. When they switched to the membership to the stream, they doubled the price. They were almost out of business. They needed some investor savings, right? And all these other streaming options became an option. So, but that's neither here nor there. So one thing to do is pay attention to everything. Okay. And that's what we're going to talk about. We can be as organized as we want, right? And we need to set up that process. What does your listing presentation look like? Have you put one together? Go to KW Connect, look for listing presentations. And then they have templates on there. You can do modern, contemporary, whatever one is you that speaks to you and your personality. Okay. Do you have pre-listing questions? Jackie knows we covered that in scripts 2 weeks ago. Right? Understanding the process. When you make a phone call, what are the questions you're going to ask? Those who ask the questions control the conversation. Okay. Now we're going to talk about.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Jackie.
I noticed that a lot of the houses are empty. So you are kind of suggesting that the people, it is easier to sell in this market with maybe with COVID or whatever, with the house empty?
What we found when COVID happened was that activity was higher on a vacant listing. People weren't as fearful as long as you followed the protocol. So it didn't make much sense. One, it saves your clients thousands of dollars to stage the house. And they were actually getting more activity when they were vacant. Okay. So it's important to know the market. Right now, unless they shut us down again, I would say leave it vacant. People are worried about getting contaminated. Is there more furniture, more everything? Then there's a higher risk. Right? So understand the market of the moment. We need to pay attention to all of these things. It's a lot, and it's a lot to know. But when you become that market expert, that's when people are going to hire you. Okay. How do you sell your listing? How many people want to start the class? All right. So we're going to talk about today. When the seller. Can everybody see the screen? Give me a thumbs up. If you are not have your camera on, please turn your camera on. Engagement and everything. We've done this, right? Make your calls. I'm not going to do it today because I got to hop on a flight. Okay. We do your calls, your handwritten notes. When we personalize business, the only way we're going to beat these companies, and I can't stress this enough, is to personalize this business so they know how much we care. If we don't do this, then they have the advantage. The Zillows, the Redfins, these big corporations who want to put us out of business. Okay. So now we're going to get our head in the game. It's time to work with sellers. The video is outdated, so let's develop your listing skills. Okay. We're going to talk about pre-qualifying the seller. What are we going to do? No. Let's see if we can do this. I'm going to just a second here. I'm going to pull this one up. Did I get the videos? Okay. So pre-qualifying the seller. If somebody calls you and says, hey, I want to sell my house, what do you do? Dub, right? Until we get comfortable and we have a process. So we need to understand the process of selling the house first and foremost. Understanding that we're going to put the house on the market and that we need all of the information. So pre-qualifying the seller is great. You want to sell your house. So then we dive into the questions. What's your time frame to sell your house? Do you have a place to move to when we put your house on the market? That's one close, right? Always be closing. Always ask, when we put your house on the market, then we can do our thing, right? We can move forward. That's where it's important to know the process of selling your home. Pre-listing packet. What questions are you going to use? As we remember last week when it was win the seller, right? With the listing presentation, what are we going to talk about? Hey, it's 3:00 and we have an appointment at 3:00. Thanks for having me. I love what you've done to the house. From the outside, the roof looks like it's practically new. The siding looks like it's been freshly painted. Compliment the house. Find something to compliment, even if it's the worst hoarder's nightmare you've ever seen. I understand you want to sell your house. Okay. Kimberly, I will get that to you. What are the questions? If you get the ASD or the Market Center emails in the morning, go back 2 weeks and you will have pre-listing questions that you can take straight from Scripps class and make them your own. You don't have to develop your new ones. You don't have to develop new ones. There's a saying in real estate. We're going to R&D to R&D. We research and develop so we can rip off and duplicate. Okay. Everything has already been done in real estate. Make it your own. Don't reinvent the wheel if you don't have to. Be yourselves, be genuine. Okay. The pre-listing packet should be a packet of 20 questions that even you send it 2 days before. And on the second day, what happens? The night before you go to that listing, you're going to call them and ask them the questions that you emailed them if they haven't responded yet. Or you're going to call and confirm your appointment for tomorrow. And I see that you filled out the packet, the questions that I sent you. I hope you found that useful and informative, right? Much when you turn over your disclosure pamphlets at first contact, if it's a listing, send over the pre-listing packet. Let them see how you operate. How many things do we do as realtors to sell their listing?
And there are 14 steps to marketing. that what you're asking?
Yeah. 14 steps. I put it into a form of 183. Which one makes you seem more valuable? $14 or 183? See, when they see your value, they won't question your commissions.
How do you come up with 183 steps?
I have a coaching client who said, "Here, take this with you."
Really? Because I want to see it. I want to know what my value is here, so I can rip off and repeat.
Rip off and duplicate, right?
Can you send that to us too?
I'm just going to give you guys everything. Just
I
second.
mean, I'm afraid I would scare people into thinking that there's like too many steps. I mean, if it's all steps I'm going to do, I guess they don't have to worry about it. But if they think that they have to cooperate in those steps, they're going to fire me because it's so many.
Right. Okay. Pre-listing activities. Make appointment with your sellers for the listing presentation. Send seller a written. Here, why don't we do this? Instead of me looking at it on my phone, I'm going to stop this. We're going to break away here for real quick. Give me a second. I should have just gone away for a minute. Can you still hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, who's excited for this next part?
Me.
Who can see it now?
See an email.
Yep, this is list here nearly 200 typical actions, research steps, procedures, process, and review stages in a successful residential real estate transaction. Full
You
service.
don't see that.
You don't
Sorry to
see.
interrupt you. You have, it's like you have to click on the PDF to open it. Like we don't see the actual PDF. We just see the email that says regards, and then there's like an attachment.
Just a second then. Can you see that now?
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, it's better.
Yes.
Okay. Does this excite people or scare the crap out of you? Pardon me.
Both.
I
don't
think
know what
it's
it is, so
exciting.
I don't care.
I think the more we know, the better off we're gonna be.
Knowledge is power.
Yep.
If you walk into somebody and say, look, okay, pre-listing activities, make appointment with a seller for a listing presentation. Send seller a written or email confirmation of the listing appointment and call to confirm. Review pre-appointment questions. What are those questions? Do you have your pre-listing questions? We did them in scripts 2 weeks ago. Go back to 2 weeks. Who saves the scripts?
All the links are forwarded to this week's. I just went back 2 weeks and it's like, it goes to like the newest one. It doesn't go to the old one.
So hoping that
Sorry.
was the case. Okay. So we want the 183 things. We want pre-listing questions. What else do we need? Is that about it? Does that cover it? Okay. Research all comparable currently listed properties. Okay. Knowing the actives is the competition. The more we know what's active, if there's none in the area, then you have no competition. Does everybody remember from last week? List price determines what? Activity. Activity determines sale price. Get your sellers off of believing that they have to list for what it will sell for. I will preface this by saying Do not list at below what they're willing to accept. If you get one offer in at that price and they will not sell, you could be in a world of hurt. Okay. Research average days on the market for this property of this type and price range and location. Download and review property tax roll information. Prepare a CMA. How much do they pay? Why is knowing the property taxes important? Anybody?
So
That
you
will
know,
affect their mortgage payment.
It affects their mortgage payment and it never goes down.
I feel like this list would be really great to use in for sale by owners.
Me too.
Is there a class on this pre-listing activities? I haven't had a chance to go through any of this kind of stuff yet.
Just keep coming to Ignite.
Okay.
You'll learn a lot. And you know what? I even took Ignite twice.
Mara's got videos too, if you want to ask her for the ones you missed.
Yes.
I've been trying to navigate my way through all this, but just with the way everything is, I haven't really had a chance to sit down and talk with anybody or get walked through anything other than my new agent or the tech orientations.
Okay. So if you're that new, then kind of schedule an appointment with Mara and say, hey, I want to know the best steps that I can do moving forward to where I can work, because the only place to start is where you start, right?
Yeah.
It's just one piece of it. But put this in your memory bank that you have to put together a listing presentation so you can win the seller. Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So comparable CM market analysis. That establishes fair market value. What determines the fair market values? Actives. How many are active? That's your competition. How many are pending? That's the price that it sells for. And then how many are sold? Know your TMOs. Every Monday, you should get a TMO. And that shows you the last, whatever price range you're looking at for your listing, that shows you exactly what you're looking at. That shows you how many have gone active, how many have been on the market, how many have gone pending, how many have expired, what was their starting price, what was the price of when they sold, and how long were they on the market. It's a market snapshot. Okay. Obtain a copy of the subdivision or plat map. That means just call the county. Ask for everything you have on that property. Research the property's ownership and deed type. That's a trio. That's from your escrow company. Research the property's public information and lot size and dimensions. That way, when you get to the listing appointment, you might be able to identify any discrepancies with the neighbors. Research and verify the legal description. All of these things we find out from the trios and we find out from public records.
You say trios?
Yeah, tax records information and I believe ownership, something like that.
Is that on Arlid? Or is that like a separate site?
I go through escrow. You might be able to get on Arlid. I don't know what Arlid is down there. I think it's where you can get all your information. But yeah, I think that was a one-stop shopping for realtors to find any information out on. We don't have.
Okay, I think that the trio thing, maybe that's your guys' Arlid. Is that what you're saying?
Well, our trio is basically public records, and we don't have like an Arlid. Arlid's awesome. It's the one-stop shop for all of the information on the property.
Okay.
Whereas reality is here we have to go to like 2 or 3 different places in Portland.
Got it.
Okay. Verify the legal names. Why is it very important to verify? You want to know somebody is selling their own property.
Not their parents.
Exactly. I don't know. Short-term rental. Guy rented it for 3 days. extended for 30, changed the locks on the door, sold every piece of furniture in the house through Marketplace, all while he was getting kicked out because the owner figured out what he was doing. Meanwhile, he sold everything for profits, right? Doesn't have anything to do with that, but people do weird things. Okay. Curb appeal, perform a exterior. What are you looking for when you're looking at the curb appeal? How do you look at a house through the eyes of a buyer? You're looking at the pillars to the house. What condition is the roof in? What condition is the siding in? Are the windows new? Are they old? Has the electrical been updated? Is it still knob and tube electrical? How old's the water heater? How old's the furnace? When was the last time the furnace was serviced? Does it have AC? Those are your pillars. The rest of it's just sheetrock. Oh, wait, forgot about plumbing. Don't forget about plumbing. It's still copper. Is it PVC? Is it PVC? Whatever. CPVC. Okay. Know what you're looking at.
How are we supposed to learn all that? I'm like, that part overwhelms me. I'm like, I don't know what looks good on a roof other than, I mean, if they're all intact, I'm good. Like, I don't.
You not want to know the best place to do it?
Sure.
Go to your inspections.
Okay.
Offer to go to a busy agent's inspections and follow the inspector around. The number one place you can go to learn about how buyers look at the house is through an inspector. Okay.
I would think that a lot of houses in this area that are older would really get stuck in the inspections.
You got to remember it's an inspector's job to pick apart the house.
Right.
What's the most common thing you're seeing on the market right now is people who haven't maintained their house. They haven't they haven't done anything to their house. It's a 30-year-old furnace that hasn't been serviced in 10 years.
Ooh.
And they want somebody to come in and buy it as is.
Yes. Yes.
Take on that expense and pay 30 grand over.
Wow.
Sounds like a great deal, doesn't it?
Yeah. For them, for the seller.
But if we're educating our clients, this is why we don't want to. Look, I understand you need to find a house and whatnot, but this isn't the house. This is going to cost you $50,000 in the next 5 years.
You mean educate the buyers?
Educate the buyers.
Okay.
Yeah, if I didn't say that. Absolutely, educate the buyers. This is what we're looking at. This is going to be a money pit. They're selling this because they haven't done any work. It's important that you know what you're looking at. Also, you can protect your clients, but then you can also protect your sellers in the same fashion. Okay.
Can you give us a clue, like to know if it's copper pipe? Can you like look under the sink?
Oh yeah. Open the doors.
Yeah.
When you're in a house, you turn on the water, you're looking at the water pressure. You're feeling underneath the pipes to see if there's any leaks. Potentially, are there any water spots? You're looking at the ceilings to see if there's any water spots.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay. You're looking at the electrical.
And this can be a listing appointment.
What's that?
This can be done
in the
during a listing appointment.
In the listing appointment, what was my thing in the listing appointment?
All this, I think, water spots, for sure.
All of this is when you're walking through the house, right? We're here to do 3 things today. What are we going to do in those 3 things? We're going to discuss the motivation of where you want to go, when you want to go. We were going to discuss your price. What price point do you want? We're going to discuss whether or not you want to work with me or I want to work with you. The first thing that we want to do is look through the house through the eyes of a buyer.
Okay.
Because you're not going to be here when The buyers bring their clients, the buyer's agents bring their clients. So I need to see what they're going to see. And these are the pillars that we're looking at. And if you walk into a listing presentation and you know what you're looking for and looking at, and then you have those fierce conversation, right? You don't ignore the rat infestation in the crawl space, right?
I'm a little confused as to where the CMA falls in this, because if you're doing a walkthrough and you hadn't seen that water damage before, or you haven't seen the plumbing, like how are you going to come up with a price for that house for your listing presentation before you've done a walkthrough?
So on your CMAs, you're picking, not every house is the same. So you're picking houses that have a different condition. Is this one updated and fully functional?
Like,
Right.
do you ask that over the phone before you go in for the listing presentation?
You can ask the seller. That can be one of your questions. Do you ask the seller, have you done any recent updates? What are things that you've done to the house? I try to, on my CMAs, pick different properties. They're going to show different stories. And what I mean by that is what properties have, maybe this one's older. Maybe this one hasn't been updated at all. And this is going to be the bottom of our price range. And then maybe we've had some updates, but still maybe we have an outdated kitchen. Maybe we've got, Formica countertops, that hasn't really been updated in 30 years. All of these go into your pricing discussions in order to sell the house. Or if you've got one that's meticulously maintained and updated beautifully and records kept, what's that one selling for? Okay. What are the market conditions? And I want you to know in the last 2 weeks, our listings have gone up 40%. With more inventory comes more competition. More competition means they have a bigger selection to choose from. That's going to affect the price. Okay. I don't do 23. Present company's profile and position or niche in the marketplace. When I'm in a listing, it's not about me, it's about them. If they want to ask me, then they can ask me. If I start talking about myself, they're going to want to know more about myself. Is that going to help them get their listing sold? We want to find out as much information as we can to help them get to where they want to go. This is their journey. How many people are fearful of somebody coming in and asking how long you've been in the business? Every single hand should go up. But when you show your value, they don't ask. All they need to do is have confidence in you to get to where they want to go. And that's why we do Ignite. That's why we teach you. No other company does this. We want you familiar with the process so you can walk in to any listing presentation, to any buyer's consultation, and they're comfortable that you know the process. Once you know the process, the job becomes 10 times easier. Okay. Okay. Offer pricing strategy based on your professional judgment and interpretation of the current market conditions. I've got somebody that's waited a month for me to give them a CMA. But they're in the middle of putting together an HOA that hasn't entirely been formed yet. And I said, I can't give you an estimate on what your house is going to sell for. I can give you a range, but all of that can change depending on how much the HOAs are and what they cover. You see, that's a monthly payment that will never go away, and that will affect the payment. And if it's on the high side, then we've got to list lower. If it's on the low side, that gives us a little more flexibility depending on what it covers. If it's a high HOA and it covers, you know, $327 a month, but you get water, sewer, garbage, and cable costs, you know, covered, does that become a high HOA or a low HOA? Okay. Understand these things, especially when you're dealing with townhomes and condos. Present offer pricing market strategies. There's three ways you can sell this. We can go the high version, and we know through market research that if we go on the high side, then we're probably only going to reach between 15 and 25% of people. Now, if we go at fair market value and what everybody perceives as fair, you know, it's not a great price, but you know, it's fair. Then it reaches 45 to 60% of people. If we go below market value, then we're going to probably reach more like 75 to 90% of people, because everybody perceives a good deal, and we know what a good deal is. They're out there in the house, they're hunting in the housing market, right? People, you're visiting houses, so you will understand the more houses you go to, the more you're going to know. How many people put expireds in their listing presentation, in their CMA? Why would you put CMAs, expireds, in your CMAs?
To show them that they might have expired because the price was too high.
There's only one reason something expires. And that's all about the price. What are the seller's goals? What's his time frame? How soon does he need to move? Will that determine his pricing strategy? If he's not in a hurry and I heard the market's great, so I'm just going to put it on the market and see. Is that a potential listing you may want to not take? If he's not very motivated, you could spend a lot of your marketing budget on selling his home and it may never sell. Everybody know how our listing service works. We go to thousands of websites. I actually have a referral in a different area. I sent them the realtor, and they texted me after 3 weeks and said, "Hey, can we talk?" And I said, "Sure." I said, "That would be great. Let's talk Monday morning." And then they sent me a text that says, "We're concerned because our realtor only belongs to one MLS service. And we want multiple services." I said, essentially, I said, "You're in the KW listing service. We're worldwide. You're going to be on thousands of websites. You are on thousands of websites. And there's only one reason that your house hasn't sold yet. And that's price. You knew going in that you listed on the high side, but you chose that avenue. So if you're getting antsy and worried about the activity, then the best thing we can do is what? Drop the price. It's on Zillow, it's on Redfin, it's on Realtor.com. Trulia, whatever website it goes to it. Explain what we do behind the scenes and the agent's availability on the weekend. How many people go live on Thursdays, walk the neighborhood, invite the neighbors to an open house? Why are open houses important? One, you're presenting an opportunity for an agent to get in front of people to collect more leads. Right? We're going to invite the neighbors to the open house and get in front of people to potentially get more listings. This is the backbone of your business. This is how you will gain lead after lead after lead, is to stay prevalent in the neighborhood. What's the agent's role? If you get a call on a listing sign, what's your role? Do you know the questions to ask? I'm so glad you called about that house. It's been on the market this many days. It's listed at 300,000 or 500,000, whatever it is. Are you currently in the market to look for a house? How long have you been looking? Have you been pre-qualified? You do not want to run out and show them an empty vacant house. Bad things can happen. We want to be safe. We want to make sure they're qualified. Explain agent's role and to present and discuss strategies. What's the master marketing plan? Review once it's under the listing agreement, review the title information, measure the rooms. What's the heated square footage? Don't be a realtor that doesn't measure the rooms. Confirm lot side with the county or a survey if available. Note any and all unrecorded property lines, agreements, and easements. Take those with you. If you can, obtain the house plans. People love the history of a house. How many people? That's a lot of things, right? Make it yours. What do you do to get the listing? All of these things, we can talk about this in an entire class. Okay. But that's what I walk into when I go into a listing and I show these things. And once you get to about 30, they're like, okay, I get it. I get it. I get it. Right? These are what we do to sell your house to make sure you're protected. Okay. There's a lot to it.
Where do you get house plans?
What's that?
Where do you get house plans? Huh?
Some people keep them.
So the seller has them?
They can, yeah. If they have them, ask for them.
Okay.
Why
I
is that
wasn't sure if there was somewhere else, like the R lid has them or something like that.
okay? Yes. Last request. Put your emails in if you guys want this information. I'm happy to sell it and send it to you. Okay. So please put it in. I'll take a picture of it and I will do it while I'm on a plane tonight. Okay. This will all streamline it, because then if you get familiar with this, then you know what you have to study. The information that you know, and you'll be more familiar with the process. Okay. Does this help? How many people's heads are spinning right now?
Mine feels clearer because every time you explain things, it just makes me feel like I understand more about when I'm approaching a buyer or a seller. So it feels more open and clear.
That's what I want. I don't want you to be overwhelmed. I want you to have a process and be able to put a purpose in place, have a purpose and put the process in place. There we go. So you guys can understand it, because the better you understand this, then guess what? The more your limiting beliefs go away. Knowledge is power.
Matt, I have a question. If you have a client that, and I'm just thinking of my buyer over the weekend, that's completely overwhelmed with all the information, and how do you,
Simplify it.
yeah, that's what I tried to do, but I almost feel like I'm not doing due diligence by her because some of that stuff you need to know.
Yeah.
And she actually, it was funny, she hugged me and she goes, "You exhaust me, but I love you." And
That's a
I
good-
said, "I'm sorry, I know it's a lot of information," and I really did simplify it,
And I think
but that just overwhelmed her.
every house has a story, right? It's your job, if you're working with buyers, to tell that story. How long has it been on the market? Have they had any price reductions? Did they raise their price? How many people know where to check on the RMLS or the WVMLS where the history, where you can find the history and how long it's been listed? Okay, very important to know that. With a seller, right? What are going to be important? Are the property lines correct? Have there been any lawsuits? Right? Is there anything on public record that says there's been a lawsuit on property lines? If there is, do you think your clients want to get in that mess? Probably not. But these are all things that we check. Okay. Let's see. So we've gone through like the pre-listing packet and the questions. I will shoot those over. Okay. Done that, doop, doop, done that. We're going to skip those because you're getting way more information and better information from me. The greet and the walkthrough, right? It's much the same as win the seller. Have a purpose. You're the agent. They're hiring you to be the professional. If they ask you, if they ask you what their home's worth, and you just say, what do you think your home's worth? Oh, 310,000. I think we should list it 310,000. You've done them no favors. Be the person that is going to be transparent, open, and honest. Yes, their feelings may be hurt. But you know what happens the longer this stays on the market? The longer it stays on the market, the worse you look. Do you like calling your clients every Monday? Set up a schedule to call them and check in with them. What's going, even if there's nothing to report. Hey, you know what? It's been 7 days since we've had a showing. I think the market's telling us we're overpriced and we need to make some adjustments. Okay, who wants to practice their listing presentation? Who's got the information in front of them? Nobody ever signs up for that, by the way. Who wants to be my client?
I'll be a client if you want to walk through it with me.
Who said that? Is that Brandon?
Yeah, sorry, I started going around, so I shut my video off.
Oh, that's cool. No, perfect. Thanks for jumping up. Okay. Let's go knock, knock, knock.
Hi, how's it going?
Hey, Brandon. Hey, it's Matt Spate with Team Spate Real Estate at Keller Williams Sunset Corridor. How are you? Thank you for thank you for having me over. How are you doing today?
Nah, not too bad. How about yourself?
Good. Hey, I'm here for our appointment at 3:00, and I just wanted to tell you what I love what you've done to the place so far. Looks like you've got a fresh coat of paint on the outside. The roof looks reasonably new. When was that replaced?
We did that about 3 years ago, I think.
Oh, very cool. And all the windows look to be vinyl. Is that correct?
Yeah, they are.
How old are those?
I think those are probably about 5 years now.
Oh, very cool. Is it okay if I come in?
Yeah, definitely. Sorry.
Okay, no. That's totally fine. What I'd like to do is start by sitting at the dining room table. I know what you're
Yeah, absolutely.
about to embark on is a big decision. I know a lot of big decisions come at the dining room table. But the first thing I want to set up today is one, walk through your house. Okay, I want to be able to walk through your house and look at it through the eyes of a buyer, and then we can start the meeting. How does that sound?
Sounds great. Where do you want to start?
So most people don't say sounds great. You know what they say? Do you want to walk?
Okay.
Do you want me to? Do you want me to walk it with you?
Okay, gotcha.
That's what you will get 75 to 90% of the time. Actually, I prefer to walk it alone so I can see what the buyers see as they come through. Since we're not going to be here when they're looking at your home, I need to see what they're going to see. I've been doing this a long time. It won't take me very long. But what I do want to do is give you some paperwork. So when you list with me, we can save time on the back end. How does that sound?
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to give you and your wife the disclosure statement. So what I want you to do is just take a look at these questions. This is everything you know about the house. When you list your property, these are things that we're going to give to the buyers who put an offer in on your house. That way they understand everything that you know about the house, and we can get rid of one of the contingencies throughout the process. How does that sound?
Okay.
Perfect. Hand over the disclosures. I take my RMLS input sheet and I start walking the house. What is it? Right? What's in the house? What's the kitchen? Is it granite? I'm making notes of remarks that I can put in the house. Right?
Okay, yeah.
Okay. And then what I do is I look in the garage. I make notes of what's staying, what could possibly stay. Is the washer and dryer staying, right? What are ways that you are showing that you're paying attention to their needs and their wants and desires?
When you're doing this, do you make a list of stuff you want to come back and directly ask them about at this point?
100%.
Okay.
So when I make that list, okay, it's going to be, hey, maybe there's a project that's half done. I'm going to point out the good and the bad.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. If I just tell them all the good, then they're going to be inflated and their emotions are going to be higher than ever. And therefore, you're not going to get the price that you want. Okay. Does that make sense?
You don't want them to overvalue it, basically?
Right. Once they bring in emotions, then they overvalue.
Okay.
My common joke is whenever I go to an appointment with my wife, the only time I never get the price I want is when she's there. It becomes 3-on-1.
Yeah.
And she always looks at me and says, it's only $5,000. You can do it. I love your confidence, honey.
I'm quite a salesman.
Right.
She's in the background now. She's quite the salesman. Yeah. Anyway, so that's my running joke. So when I run through it, I'm making notes of what's wrong with it. How old's the furnace? How old's the thing? Because then I'm talking about the entire process when I sit back down. So now that we're done with the process, you walk out the back door, you kind of see the yard. Is it a good neighbor fence? How many people know what they're looking at with a fence? What makes it a good neighbor fence?
The flats and the 2x4s alternate.
Yep. If the neighbors paid for it, most likely the wood's all on their side. If you've paid for it, then most likely you're going to be facing the wood and what that happens, right?
Yeah.
So I think the best thing that once you know that, you can explain that better to your buyers as well. Oh, hey, this is a good time, right? Sorry about that. And then what we talk about is, so we've got the good neighbor fence. What do we look at? We go, how old's the, are the washer and dryer staying? Are there any water spots? Right, in the ceiling? Any rot, any place that needs caulking? We're looking for little things, big things, okay? We don't want them to be filled with surprises. And the more thorough you are in your walkthrough, the better the chances are you're going to get the listing. See,
So when you're,
they didn't hire you to say yes to everything. They hired you because you're the professional and you know what sells. Go ahead, Brandon, you had a question?
yeah. So when you're saying look for the little and the big, and you're bringing up stuff like is there missing caulking, all that kind of stuff, have you found that to have almost kind of a negative impact when you're pointing out, you're missing caulking here, you've got,
Always point out
okay,
the positives first.
okay. So go through all the nice stuff you like, the attributes, and then be like, can we do this here, do that there?
And then you always say, look, these are things that I love about your house. Point out things because there is. And then when I get back, okay, then I set the parameters for the meeting, which is we're going to discuss, hey, thanks, Brandon, for letting me walk through your house. I know that wasn't easy. It didn't take very long. How'd you do on those disclosures?
I got them pretty much done. Had a couple of questions on this or that.
Okay, perfect. I will tell you guys this. I don't want any of you answering any questions on that. You can interpret the question if they don't understand it, but you are in no way to help them answer it.
Okay.
That is the number one reason people get sued. I'm sorry, I can't answer that for you. I will interpret the question, but it has to be your answer. I had one come up. She's like, do I live in the dwelling? I said, only you can answer that. Is that your legal residence? She said, yes. Great. She goes, but I stay with my grandma too to keep her company. So your legal dwelling is the house. You answered the question, right? It's important to know that. Okay. So as we go through, if they've already gone halfway through the disclosures, they've already established you as the expert. Now, if they haven't filled anything out, and all we're doing is playing a game of poker to see where they're at. Okay. So what we talk about at that point is great. Brandon, thank you for having me. I appreciate taking your time. I know your time is valuable. I won't take very long, but I do want to say we're here to establish three things in today's meeting. One, we're going to discuss your motivation. Two, we're going to discuss a price point that works for both of us. And three, we're going to discuss whether or not you want to work with me or I want to work with you. How's that sound?
Yeah, let's look at it.
Okay. Perfect. One, where do you want to go? You want to sell your house? Do you have a place to buy? Are you looking to leave the state? Well, where do you want to go?
We're actually just moving, or we want to move across town, get into a different school district. We don't really have anything lined up yet, though.
Okay, and are you going to need help on the buy side with an agent on that side too, as well?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. we do represent both sides in this situation. It's better to work with one agent on both sides so we can put you in the best position. So when you're looking to buy, what's your time frame when you want to move?
We want to try and be moved before the fall. That way everything's set and ready to go when the kids start school in September.
Okay. Now, the number one objections you're going to get in this situation is, I'm going to stop from scripts and go into teaching, is the fact that when people need to buy on the other side, they're scared that they won't have a place to go. So therefore, they tend to want to look at homes first, when in reality, we have no idea what their house is going to sell for.
Okay.
So we have to put them in the best position to buy. Great. Brandon, what does your financing situation look like? Do we need to sell your house in order for you to have a down payment and buy on the other side? Or is something like a bridge loan applicable in this place?
I'm not sure about a bridge loan. We'd kind of planned on wanting to sell this place and then use some of the profit for the down payment on the new house.
Okay. So a bridge loan essentially is a temporary loan that they will give you to where you can do 2 payments for a short amount of period. And therefore, we don't have to write any offers that are contingent on your home selling. It will strengthen your offer throughout the process if we don't have a contingency in this market. Is that something you'd be willing to entertain?
Possibly. It would kind of depend on how things line up for making 2 payments at the same time.
9 times out of 10, they go, nope, not going to do it.
That makes sense.
But at the same time, you've given them an option and you're showing them that you are the real estate expert.
Okay.
Right? Great. He knows what that is. He knows there's a different avenue for me to reach it. Great. So what I'm understanding is we won't look at that, but what we will do is put you in the best possible position to go look at houses. In order to do in order to do that, we need to, first things first, put your house on the market. How does that sound?
Okay. How do we do that?
Well, you started by hiring me. Ooh, there's another closure, right?
Yeah.
Are you interviewing any other agents?
We haven't, no.
Are you planning to?
At this point, probably not.
Okay. What's important to you when you work with an agent?
We're looking to make this as quick and easy as possible, and somebody that's going to have resources to make that happen and get us a good price for the house.
Okay, so price is going to be everything for you, is what I'm understanding. Price is the motivation. Okay. And we have a timeline before school starts, which is going to be dang near impossible at this point, but we might be able to get it done before then, right? Or within the first month. Okay. So let me ask you this. Do you have any idea what your house is worth?
No, there was one around the corner that sold for about 370, I think, a few months ago.
Actually, that one started and was listed at 370, but it wound up going for 410.
Well, that's good news.
Right? And that's the market. Now, let's keep in mind when we talk about the market and what you know about the market, 2 to 3 months ago, if something sold back then, we knew 100% of listings were going for over list price, which is what we want, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. I don't want you to get married to list price. I want you to get married to the sale price. List price will determine the activity, not the sale price. Just because it sold that your neighbor's house, which is a great comparable, by the way, I have it right here in my CMA. Just because it sold for $35,000 over list price doesn't mean we're going to do the same thing. Okay. The market's completely different than it is now. You see, in the last 3 weeks, the market's gone up 40% with listings, which means there's more competition. But what we can do is put you in the best possible position to get the highest price the market will bear in the quickest amount of time. How does that sound?
Okay. Yeah, and you're the expert.
Okay. We know with technology and what technology says, every buyer has it at their fingertips. And 97% of people have a cell phone that tells them home values. Are you familiar with what Google says about your house?
No, we looked at Zillow and did one of their estimate things, but that's about it.
Now, what do you think of their estimate? Their Zestimate. What'd you think?
I thought it was a little under, honestly.
Okay. Okay. How much under?
It was probably about 20 less than I'd consider selling for.
Okay. What was your estimate? Do you remember? Well, we can look it up. I'll Google it right there. Of course, I'm already going to know this estimate. So if we have a so at this point, what? It was 370 for the neighbors.
I think I kind of got lost in my numbers there, trying to take notes and follow along with what you're saying.
So if we have a 370, but then, hey, your estimate shows up at 355 or 350, right?
Yeah.
Or we could even go 395, 385. Okay.
You said Zillow's actually usually over, right?
Usually it is right now because they want a piece of the market.
Okay.
Which works out great. Great. First thing we need to do is I need you to understand that Zillow is we need to take into account what Zillow says, whether they're right or wrong, and we need to use that to our benefit. How does that sound? So
okay.
If you're not happy with this estimate, what we need to do is claim your house. We need to go in, make sure that everything is right on there. But then we also need to research which comps they're using. You can find all this out in Zillow. You just scroll to the bottom of the page. Okay.
Okay.
And what we do then is we check out Realtor, we check out Redfin, and we pull the comps in the area to show what those algorithms are telling us. We need to make sure the bedrooms, the bathrooms, the square footage, and the lot size are all correct. Do you remember if they're right? Say yes in this case.
Yeah, they were all right.
Okay. So ultimately, our competition is going to be how do buyers perceive a good deal? You see, when you're looking to buy, if you look, and are you looking at houses on Zillow to see what you might like?
We've looked around a little bit.
Okay, so you understand this estimate and the fact that when somebody goes live on their house and it pops to your phone, you look at it and you see this estimate versus the list price, you determine right then and there in the split second of whether or not this is a house you have to get off your couch for.
Yeah.
Okay. We want to take human nature into account. You see, I understand that you think it's probably a little bit low, but if everything's right on it, we work with it. Okay. List price will determine the activity. The activity will determine the sale price. But you know, if you want to sell your house, let's say you want to sell your house for 400,000. The neighbor's house went for 405. You want to sell your house for 400,000. Boom, your estimate's at 380. Is that a good deal?
Probably not.
Okay, we want to find a price that's going to drive the activity. Okay.
Right.
So based on that information, are you willing to list your house a little bit lower to maybe get more money on the other end?
Yeah, we can make that work.
Okay. So there's a couple things that I want you to keep in mind as we look, as we go through this. Okay. I know people have apps. I know people get financing approved in $25,000 increments. That means we're going to have more eyes on it if we pick the appropriate price point. Okay, your estimate's at 380. What I would like to do is list at 375. Would you sell your house at 375?
Yeah, I think we could sell at 375 as long as there
Okay.
wasn't too much else we had to spend on it.
Okay, now trust me when I tell you this. Okay. I want to sell your house for as much as I can possibly get. By doing that, we establish a price point that will work for everybody. It has to be a price where you're willing to sell it, but also is going to draw the most activity. See, it's only a difference of $5,000 between the Zestimate and the, but you're going to perceive a better deal. So therefore we're going to have more activity. And what we do on our team is when we get that list price, then we walk the neighborhood. We're going to invite your neighbors. We're going to invite 200 of your closest neighbors to this open house. Okay. Do you have a place to go this weekend where you might be able to get out of the house, maybe take some time with the wife and enjoy?
Yeah, we can make that happen.
Okay, good. I suspect at that price point, it's the number one price point in this market of people looking. So therefore, I'm pretty confident we're going to get a lot of activity. And you see, the understanding is I want to get the most activity so we can get more than one person putting an offer in. If we get more than one person putting an offer in, it's going to strengthen your position through the whole process of selling your home. See, it's not just about getting an offer price. We then have 3 other points of negotiations with that buyer. That being the disclosure period preliminary title report that comes out through escrow once we have the earnest money in. They pull everything that's on the property and send it to the buyers. And then they're going to have 7 to 10 days to do their due diligence, whatever's in their offer, to do inspections on the house. See, they're only going to be able to walk through the house to determine if they want to do more due diligence on your house. And then we've got the appraisal period. Okay, and we're going to protect you not just through the one part of the transaction, we're going to protect you through the 3 parts. And understand that each one of those is a negotiation. If we get one offer at 375 after 5 days, what's the market telling you your home's worth?
375.
At that point in time, it's worth 375. Okay, and that's got to be that's a possibility. I wish I could sit here and tell you what your house is worth, but only the market will determine what your house is worth. So we're going to put you in the best possible position. We're going to stage it. Okay, we can use your own furniture. You've got great furniture, but we're going to stage it. We're going to clear things off. We're going to make it less cluttered. And we're going to have it cleaned. We're going to have it professionally cleaned before we get to market. And then I'd like to have a landscaper come in and kind of trim back the bushes and shape them so it really stands out. Maybe add some bark dust or wood chips. What do you think?
Do you have any idea what doing that kind of stuff's going to cost?
That just comes with my marketing fee. I take care of that for you.
Okay, so we don't have to worry about any of that then.
And I don't ever start out with that, just so you guys know. When I first started the business, I didn't do that. But what I
Yeah.
found is it's better curb appeal. And these are things you can tell your clients to do to get their house ready, right? If you have it professionally cleaned, don't take on the costs as you're getting started, but you take on this is what's going to sell your house. Nothing more than 3 things on a counter. Put away all your personal belongings, make sure all your valuables are tucked away. And what I tell people is this, look, you're planning to move. Start packing. Throw it in a box and put it in the garage where you can then move it and be done in one. We're here to make this as simple on you as possible. Done in one. Okay?
Okay.
How's that sound? How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Do you feel like you're in good hands?
Yeah, so far.
I've given you many different strategies that we can make this work, right? Okay, and this is the prelude. So what I want you to understand is that as we go through this process, I will keep you up to date on every showing, every feedback that we get, and be in constant communication so you don't have to worry about what's next.
Okay.
Okay? In the meantime, I think we can get it ready, and time is of the essence because school is going to start. I think we can get this ready in 24 hours and have it on the market. How does that sound?
Well, that sounds great.
Great. Let me check with my photographer, see what his availability is. And once we get it listed, then we can start working on the buy side. We can help you find your house. Okay. And that way you're going to be, with your house listed, you're going to be in a better position to get an offer accepted on the other end.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay. It changes if you want to write an offer on a house, but you have to sell yours, it puts the house in bumpable buyer status. Plus, we'll be looking for houses that have no competition, because that becomes a risk for you, the seller.
Okay.
Does that make sense? It puts you, if you have your house on the market and it's not pending yet, it puts you in what we call a bumpable buyer status. That means the house is still on the market and will be until you go pending. Once
Okay.
you go pending, then the house you're buying will go pending. By the way, way to pick the most scenario out there.
Hey, I'm giving you objections to walk people through.
Right? This will be your number one objection. And this will be, if you know this, it's about putting them in the best possible position to get an offer accepted on the other side. If you show them houses before they're ready to put their house on the market, that house will most likely be gone that they fall in love with.
Yeah.
Okay. One question I did not ask you when we sat down is what got you to, and always personalize it, right? What got you and your wife to buy this house? What were the characteristics of the home that you fell in love with?
The space, all the natural light. We needed more room.
Okay. That question brings emotion into it. Shows that you're emotionally connected. Okay. So don't forget to ask that one.
Okay.
I've been up against 4 agents and I ask that question, and the next thing I know, a client gets up, walks me through the house, tells me it's a separation issue. And then we had it. I've even had the perfect house.
What was the question again? Like, are you asking about the motivation for selling? I forgot the question.
What was it that you and your wife loved, or you and your partner loved about the house that got you to buy it when you bought it.
Oh,
So you're showing you're emotionally connected and you want to transform that when you're doing remarks. You want to hit their talking points. And we're making notes of these things. I don't mean to jump around, but I wanted to get that part back in, right? So now let's jump forward. So once we put you in the best possible position to buy and we put your house on the market, then we can start looking as your house goes pending and people are looking, and we hope to have offers on it in 5 days or less. That's when your go time is.
Okay.
We understand with technology, by the way, I just noticed this, nice shirt.
Thank you.
What we know is that with technology, and 97% of people have a cell phone, and the minute we go live on our listing service, we're going to go out to 1,000 websites. And why you want to work with me is I'm part of KW, which is the #1 brokerage in the world.
So you bring your value and the company value after you've already worked through everything else to make it about them.
We're going to use our strength, our numbers, to increase the activity on your house,
Okay.
to increase the clicks on the internet. See, we also understand that there's more people moving to Oregon, and we want to attract those people as well. So when we do our photography, we're actually going to do our regular photography, but we're going to do a 360 and a drone if it's feasible. Okay.
Okay.
Maybe we're going to do a 3D where they can, active, where they can do a Matterport, where they just walk in the house and it's a 3D version of the house. That's available too. I pay for all photography, and photography is one expense you should pick up. Okay.
Okay.
That's a lot of the reason you start working with buyers, because there is some expenses that go with a listing, and those buyers there's no expense other than gas.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So once we go live with your house, then we can start looking in the neighborhoods that you want to look at, and I can show you what's out there. Photographer can be out here tonight. We can do a twilight photography session. You've got lots of natural light and windows, so I think it'll show up great. What we need to do now is, and don't schedule anything after your listing appointments, because it may be a position where you have to go right to work. Clearing the countertops, packing things away, helping them, right?
Okay.
They don't know how to sell a house. You do. Great. Do you have any touch-up paint in the garage that we can fix up these scrape marks? You do all of that stuff and show them that you know what you're talking about. I think Jackie loved that one, but I can't tell you how many times that
It's the truth. You need touch-up paint.
You do. Your moldings are dirty. Maybe you've got, a lot of people just need that cleaning.
Yeah.
Right? Don't be afraid to dive in, because you're going to put them in the best possible position. We want to match their motivation. Don't ever not match their motivation. You can lose a listing.
Okay.
If your timeline's for the school, maybe we can at least be pending, and then we can find something on the other side. But once your house goes pending and your buyers go through the inspection process and the appraisal period and the preliminary title report, that's going to strengthen your offer as we move down the line. I don't want you to panic that you're going to have anything. We can ask people, we can we can have that. We're going to protect you in your listing with seller to find suitable housing. That means you may be able to get up to a 59-day rent back. Why is it 59 days?
I
After
don't
that,
know
it's-
that one.
After that, it's not, it's rental, whatever they call that, tenant.
At 59 days, the buyer's interest rate changes at 60 days. It goes,
Okay.
it goes from an owner occupied to a non-owner occupied. And that's important to know that, because when you're working on the buy side, they want a 6-month rent back where they're not in a hurry to move. It's like, really, then you need to understand that at 59 days, at day 60, your house becomes non-owner occupied and you're going to get a higher interest rate, which is then going to raise your payments. And we don't want to protect you like that. We want you to understand what that's going to entail. It's your choice ultimately of what you want to do. But we're here to give you the information of why that's not going to be suggested. I never suggest that anybody waive their inspection either. As a buyer's rep, okay? Now I say, hey, sellers when I'm working with buyers for sellers, we need to understand all of these things and what they mean so our sellers know what to look for. Preliminary title report, they're just going to verify that county records, everything that's on record is recorded and deeded and is proper. Okay. Usually people don't back out of a home sale because of that. But what they do, they may look at the HOA stuff. Anytime that I have an HOA, anytime that I have CC&Rs, you will get that with a trio. And I put that online first because we want people to see that, because we want to be transparent. That
Yeah.
can go as a supplemental form on the RMLS. Does an HOA, is that going to stop people from putting in an offer?
Potentially.
Absolutely, 100%. Anytime you can get that information and put it out there first and foremost, so you're only dealing with serious buyers. We want to be proactive versus reactive. When our sellers see that, we're going to protect them. Strategy-wise, okay? Once you go pending, so we'll go back into it. Once you go pending, then your offer gets strengthened and we may be able to get an offer accepted because you're no longer being bumpable buyer status and the house won't be on the market. Bumpable buyer means the house is on the market and is still on the market, but you get first right of refusal. So if you're under contract, we find a house for you and they accept our offer contingency to sell your house, we put in a window in our offer of 24, 48, 72, 96 hours, right? That they have to let us know if another offer comes in.
Okay.
Because if another offer comes in, that means I usually go 72 to 96 hours. Because that means we can adjust. Because all we have to do is get your house pending.
Right.
So I'm going to look at you and say, look, we haven't had much activity. We need to sell it. We need to get aggressive with the price. How do you feel about a price drop?
If that's what we need to do.
See, now it's not about selling your house. Now it's about getting into your next one. So your journey is going to change along the way and your motivation becomes different. So constantly check on your clients and what their motivation is and what their journey is.
Right.
Buyers have an idea in their head. Sellers have an idea in their head. They want to make sure that it's one that they can achieve. Buyers, there's an adage. Anybody heard the saying, buyers are liars?
Yeah.
Buyers aren't liars. Buyers are uneducated. As we start showing them and educating them, they realize there's a better opportunity for them, a better option, because they didn't know when we first met them. So always keep checking throughout the process. How are you feeling? Are there other options that are available? Will a smaller yard work? Do you still want the 5 acres? Knowing that we're going to be at the top of your budget. Is this making sense?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm so way off listing presentations and whatnot, but at the same time, what do you know about me so far in this listing presentation?
So far, kind of hard to tell in our little role play one here, but so far it's been, I mean, straightforward. The points that need to be made were made. There wasn't a lot of off topic kind of rabbit trails so far as the actual presentation went.
What we have to,
And
let me interrupt for a second. What we have to do is have them, you have to be comfortable enough with the strategies that I put forth. Once you're comfortable that I'm going to put you in the best possible position, you're going to hire me.
right.
So I show you my value. If I don't show you my value and you have no idea what I'm going to do for you, you're not going to be hired, or you're going to have a whole lot more objections to deal with, such as, hey, I have another agent who's going to reduce his commission. Will you reduce your commission?
Gotcha.
I
When
appreciate
something like that. Oh, go ahead.
I appreciate you asking if I'll reduce my commission. I tend to not. So that tells me I have to step up my game and my value proposition, right?
Right.
Okay. I understand that you want me to work for less, but when I work for less, it changes your mindset. Much like you at work, if you were to go to your boss and ask, and they ask you to do your work for less, would that change your mindset and would you work as hard?
Right.
There's one objection. Or you can go to, oh, let's see. Oh, that's great. You found another agent who's going to reduce your price. See, I understand that we have 4 points to the negotiations and that every one of those is a negotiating point for you and your family. And this is your number one investment. This is your security. This is the warmth. This is your security blanket for your family. And you just picked an agent who can't even fight for his own family's money. And now you want to put him in charge of your number one investment? Does that sound like a good idea?
Well, that's rough.
What's that?
He said that was rough.
Right? I used that on a guy. He was moving from Vegas and he says, found a guy that's going to list my house for 1%. I said, that's awesome. Makes you feel good, right? You realize this is your number one investment. Provides everything for your family. I've seen a house put 3 kids through college. And you're going to put this guy in who can't even fight for his own money on his own table in charge of your number one investment. How do you feel now?
Yeah.
His exact quote was, I want to fire him.
That's great. Here's my card.
This is why scripts is important. These are the things that we combat. Knowing how to answer these things. Do they sound cheesy? Do I make it sound cheesy? Or do I come from the heart?
No, it sounds like you're being real.
I'm genuine. I want you to sell your house for more money. Do you know why? I wake up every day unemployed.
Yeah.
That's my mindset. I get paid more if you sell your house at more. What better motivation is that? I want at least 575 for my house. Why are you selling yourself short? I want $1 million for your house. Doesn't mean I'm going to get it. I can't tell you what your house is going to sell for. All I can do
Right.
is put it on the market and interpret the market. We're going to give you a high price and we're going to give you a low price. You need to decide what strategy works for you.
Do you mind if I
Makes
ask a
sense.
fast question about commission?
Yeah.
So, I didn't really ever think about this until now, but I know that the seller is paying for the buyer's commission. So when you're setting your commission, are you negotiating on behalf of the buyer too? So like the guy that was only taking 1%, he's actually only getting a 0.5%.
He's doing like, I break it down into two sides. So look, we've got two different sides to the commissions, right?
Right.
Listing side, how much I'm going to pay. I don't do a listing for under 3%.
Right. So then you have to be like, hey, you're actually paying me a 6% commission because we're paying the buyer's agent 3% too.
My standard commission is 6%, but that gets split two different ways.
Okay.
I keep 3%, 3.3% from my side, and then I offer 2.7%.
Okay.
Or I do 5.5%. And I do 3% for my side and 2.5 for the other, because the industry has dropped on the commissions, right? It just depends. So my standard listing fee is 5.5%. Am I okay with that? 6 years ago, I was getting paid 6% on, a $250,000 house, and I was okay with that. The market's gone up. The average median price is 450, right? At 450, do you still need to do the 6%? No, you're willing to do it for $9,000. Why do you need,
So you said you give yourself 3% and you give the buyer the 2.5%.
Yeah. And here's what I say, look, it's negotiable. If you want a cheaper one, great. What part of my marketing do you not want me to do? Never get stuck into it. Put different packages together. If you don't want me to put it on the market, I'll list, if you don't want me to put any marketing behind it, any advertising behind it, or anything, if you want me to take cell phone photos, I will. But you're only going to pay me it's a 1%. So what package do you not want? I've been in a listing presentation where I said, hey, we'll take care of everything. We'll clear out the house. We'll have a garage sale. We'll set it up and you pay me 7%. Make it so they have options. When they ask me to reduce my commission, which part of my services do you not want?
Makes sense.
Right? Value proposition. What value do they want? I just need you to put it on the MLS. Great. I'll do it for 1%.
Matt, I'm not clear on how you came up with the 5.5%. I guess I didn't understand that.
Industry standard. Well, there's no such thing as industry standards because that's illegal. But the buyer's agent commissions, when you're showing houses and you're working with buyers, they have what they call a BAC listed on the listing agreement. That is buyer agent. It's what the seller is willing to offer the buyer's agent to bring people in. That can be any number that the seller wants to pay. It could be 1%, it could be 2.5%, it could be 3%. It could be 2.25%, 2%, whatever that is. But you have to understand what that does for the mindset. What does it do for the mindset? You as a buyer's agent, are you going to show the one that's going to offer the 2.5% first, or are you going to offer the one that says 2.25%?
Right.
You're going to show the houses and probably in the order where you're going to make the most money. Make sense? Where do you think you're going to fall in the totem pole if you're offering 1%, which, by the way, builders and developers are doing right now?
So the 6%, is that based on, what is that based on? Because I know you just said there's no industry standard. So what determines that?
Industry standard, but we don't say it out loud.
Right.
3.3 used to be 3.3 and 2.7. 3.23 to the listing side because you're putting the marketing behind it, you're putting the money behind it, the advertising behind it,
Right.
the photography, the cleaning, whatever it takes to get it on the market to present itself the best.
Okay. That makes sense.
And then 2.7 was to the buyer's agent, and that's now dropped to 2.5. And in a lot of incidents, I will tell you this. If I'm going to show a property where the agent has reduced their commission in their listing presentation, that's a golden opportunity for my clients. So I know they've already balked at their own commissions. And I also know there's 3 other points to the negotiations which they can't hold their line and object. So they just reduced it. This is a game of poker. Don't show your cards. If you have a listing, make sure your clients pick up the cards. Why would you pick up the business cards? That's a tell. If you have 50 cards on the table and there's no offers, are your clients going to write an offer for full price?
Nope.
That's a tell, right? That's why I tell all my clients, pick up the cards, pitch them. I have an electronic record keeping. It lets me know when somebody's in. Right? Anything that I can see, I'm going to look for signs. When you're scheduling showings for buyers, how busy is showing time? Are there 3 appointments? Are there 25 appointments? Is that a tell?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Then you can set the expectations for your clients. Transfer this to your clients, and list price will determine that. Check the history page. How long has it been on the market? Have they lowered the price? When did they lower the price? Did they raise the price? I've actually raised the prices on my listings. I did a poor job in my listing presentation, and I had a house where the guy lived in 6 months, and I told him I was going to list it $499. This is back when I was new. Don't use $499. Use the 500s. Don't limit the activity you're going to get on the house. Don't tell your clients their house isn't worth 500. Don't tell them what it's worth. Just tell them you're going to put it on the best price, right? We're going to get people looking at it from 450 to 500. We're going to get people looking at it from 500 to 550, 500 to 525. We're going to maximize the exposure of your listing based on price point. If I put it at 500, I'm limiting your options. Nobody over 500 is going to see it. If somebody's looking between 500 and 600, guess what? They're not going to get an opportunity to raise the price. Because the only people looking at it are between 400 and 500. Does that make sense to anybody? And yet you see how many people are at 399.9. You're going to create your own systems and what you find. That listing, I went at 499. I got 3 offers at 485. Every single one of them, none of them wanted to come up. My client countered them all at 497. Yeah, 497. He wanted to cover realtor fees. We had a conversation about, I said, is 497 your lowest? I said, there's no guarantee we're going to get that. You've only been in the house 6 months and you bought it for 472. I said, let me think about it. All right. Pulled an old trick, which was pulled the house off the market, canceled the listing, put it back on the market and raised the price to 505. Found an agent who didn't know how to check the history. Didn't seem that it had been listed for 2 months at 499. Within 3 days, we had an offer at 500. Check the histories on your listing, on your showings. Is there a lot to this? Over time, you're going to get better at it. Repetition is the key. Be engaged. If you don't engage and 6 months later, you're expected to remember what you're learning today, make it a habit.
Do you think you know what? Oh, sorry.
No, go
I
ahead.
thought you had a pause right there. Do you think you know off the top of your head, like for a new agent, like your average new agent that practices scripts or whatever, but isn't never really done a listing appointment? Like how many listing appointments do you go on before you get a contract?
Do I have a stat? It depends.
Yeah.
Do you call your coach?
No,
Do you
I
feel-
haven't really, I don't call her that often.
Okay. If you had a coach, right? They're there at your beck and call. And if you called me 40 minutes, I will tell you this has happened on multiple occasions where some of my agents call me and I've got a listing tomorrow.
Like a listing presentation, you mean?
Yeah. I've got a listing appointment tomorrow. Okay, let's get you prepped. Shoot me the address. What's everybody seeing? So far, I think only one didn't get the listing.
Okay.
Because it puts you in that frame of mind when you talk and what to look for, and then you have the conversations. And I will also say, most of the time, I never bring up my CMA. I bring up the technology. And what does the technology say? My CMA is from my own knowledge to say, okay, and then I take the CMA, the actives, the pendings, and the solds, but I also look at what technology is telling us. I want to put more emphasis on what the technology is saying so I can get the better list price. I use my CMA to see what I can get appraised for.
Oh, I see. I think I haven't really been clear on that.
Okay.
I thought the CMA was like what you're trying to get your clients to list at.
You can, absolutely. But when I start talking about the technology, they never go back to what realtors see.
Right.
They want to know what everybody's seeing, what every buyer sees.
So do you leave the final price blank on your CMA?
I give them a high and a low.
Okay.
I give them a range. I never tell somebody what they're going to get for their house. How many people love this class so far? You feel like you can go out and do a listing appointment?
If I
Almost.
call you first for a pep talk.
Yeah, if we could call you and get a pep talk, we'd be fine. Or I'd be fine.
I would tell you this. It's the best feeling in the world, and it's just to remember the basics. Google the address,
Mhm.
write down what those evaluations say, and then establish your marketing plan.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then it's as simple as 1, 2, 3, match their motivation.
I was just thinking that if buyers think that if buyers have in their head that they want to find the house before they sell it, if you became, or as a buyer's agent, you can end up having a listing because they call you and you turn it around and you put their house on the market before you take them out.
Is Nolan still here?
Is that what he did?
Nolan, are you still there? Nolan, did you go to sleep? No, I'm kidding. He's working usually, but he has it on. So if he can talk, he'll unmute. We had a listing presentation. I had a listing presentation. They're distant friends, but they tried to sell their house 3 times in the last 2 years. On the third one, they called me and said, "You're in real estate. What are we doing wrong?" They fired their agent, hired me. We got 2 offers pending in 5 days. Went to an open house, probably picked up 3 clients. Because of that exact same scenario, they were out looking and they couldn't put an offer in on the house that they loved. And the defeat that was shown when they found the house and they weren't in position to buy it, it was apparent. You
So
knew
the agent didn't try to sell their house? I'm confused.
didn't even put
Why
it
would
on,
you not try to do that?
hadn't put it on the market. They were out looking. They went to open houses because not every agent's created equal.
Well, that just seems so logical. It's like, oh, you have a homeowner trying to buy a house. So did you think about selling your house? I don't know. I'm confused, maybe.
Because you have to match their motivation. Is their motivation they need to find something before they list their house? Because the number one fear in the market right now is that they're not going to have a place to go.
Right.
So we protect them with seller
rent back.
suitable housing.
So how many people have you had that clause with the 59 days rent back or whatever that didn't find suitable housing? Like, what happens?
Not had one.
You haven't had one?
I've never had one not find suitable housing because when they're ready to buy, then they're ready. And then it depends on your communication with the listing agent as to where you are in the process. Okay. And what that looks like, but they're in good hands and that you're going to get it to the finish line. Hey, I just wanted to let you know my clients are excited about your house. We're going to put our best foot forward. We're basing on the sale of this house at this address. We've already gone pending, so we're good. The inspection is scheduled for Friday, right? So we're hoping to have, by the time you accept offers on this house, we're hoping to have the inspection period completed. Or, hey, we've got buyers, they're buying the house as is. We've got 2 backup positions in place. So we feel really good. And then if we are the highest and best, would you take our offer? Explain that.
Do you think that just giving that, what you just said, that you haven't had anybody not find suitable housing after 59 days will overcome a lot of objections? Because I don't have any personal experience to be like, oh yeah, for sure. I know for a fact, but if I could say I've talked to like every agent and know everybody's found housing.
The answer, it doesn't matter what you've done. What matters is what you know. Do you know how to protect somebody? They're not going to ask you if you've done it before. They're going to ask you, they're going to ask you, basically, do you know how to handle this situation? And we're not going to get discouraged, right? Because we understand that as your house is pending, the more the buyer goes through the process, and this is why when your house goes pending, you're not going to wait for the buyers. The buyers, you're not going to have the buyers wait to do their inspections until you find a house. You're going to have them keep looking and make that investment to say they're locked in, because every contingency in the process makes your offer stronger going forward. Does that make sense?
So would it be a line if you were an issue?
What's that?
I said, I guess you wouldn't be lying if you said you never had an issue with any client not finding suitable housing.
No, I haven't.
Well,
One,
if we said that too, we wouldn't.
right, no, you wouldn't, right? But you have had 60 days. You can ask for a longer, there's ways to wrap it, right? Which is, hey, do we have a 45-day close and then a 59 days after that? That gives you 3 months. Right? Do you have a 60-day close? Do you have 2 months to close on the house and 2 more months to find it? That's 4 months. Do you think we can find a house in 4 months? How many people want to work with the same buyer for 4 months? Day in and day out. Shoot me now. Okay.
You could probably also remind them that how much equity they have. So it's not like they're a first time home buyer. So they're going to have a stronger offer than a lot of buyers.
That's exactly right. I know we covered a lot today, not just sellers, but sellers and buyers. How many people can feel comfortable walking into a listing presentation to win the seller? You're going to do it with different strategies. Everybody is different, and what their goal is completely different. We want to listen to their goals and find the best strategy. We know if you want to get into a new house on the opposite side of town, we know the goal is going to be to get your house listed first, because we can protect you with seller to find suitable housing, which can give us 3 to 4 months to find something, close your house, right? And get that taken care of. You know what else we can do? Uh-oh, that just went out. I had the thought for like a split second.
Bridge loan.
What's
Look
that?
at
You can
bridge
buy a bridge. You can actually look at bridge loans. If they make enough, or if they have enough, then they can do that. That's basically saying you can accept 2 payments for a couple months before you sell your house, but it doesn't make your offer contingent on your house selling. All of these are very important strategies when you're working with sellers. If you can remember these and you win the strategy and you know the strategy, then you're good to go. What sells the house fast?
Right price.
What's the worst thing a seller can do?
Say overprice.
100%. Buyer's perception. We all know it. We deal with it on a daily basis. Some companies make a living at it. How many people ever go to Kohl's? Albertsons? They don't tell you what they spent. They tell you what you saved. You don't go to an auction saying, look what I bought, look what I won. Right? We want people to get into those bidding wars, and we do that with the right price. Whether it's fair market value or whether it's the worst thing you can do. The best thing you can do is explain to a seller that if you overprice your house, you could be costing yourself anywhere from $10,000 to $25,000. You may have to play marriage counselor. Husband and wife aren't on the same page. Wife says, hey, we're going to sell our house. We want to use you. Great. Husband says, sweet, we'll go for it. 2 days before listing, he's like, you know what? I think we need to try the higher price. We need to go 550, not 525. We need to go 550. Like, well, just so you know, it could cost you 10 to 25,000 in the long run. If we put it at 525, we're probably looking between 535 and 540, getting some competition and strengthening our position throughout the entire process. If you want to try it, then I will let you try it. It's not that far out. I'll put my money behind it. I'll put my marketing budget behind it, but you have to be open to reducing your price when it doesn't sell. Can you have that conversation with them? 2 weeks into it, we had an offer at 540. Boom, mother-in-law saw the house, backed out of it the next day. Didn't have another showing for 10 days. Called him, said we need to look at the price. Called the wife and said you need to have a conversation with your husband and ask him why he doesn't want to sell. She goes, no, he wants to sell. And I'm like, no, you want to sell. He doesn't want to sell. Otherwise, he wouldn't have sabotaged your house and selling.
Did
My
you
job.
actually use that word sabotage to her?
Yeah, absolutely. He sabotaged it.
But I mean, like, did you say that to the wife?
Yeah, I said that to the wife. I said, you need to have a conversation.
Wasn't offended?
You need to, at that point, we're under contract. So if I'm not going to be brutally honest with him, then I'm not doing him any favors. But I said, you need to have a conversation with the husband and ask him why he doesn't want to move. 2 hours later, I got a text that says, let's drop the price to 525. Within 48 hours, I had 2 offers at 525. Everything, we need to interpret the market. All of these things make a difference in how well we communicate. Don't avoid conflict. Be open and transparent. They are hiring you to be their agent. Good or bad, you're going to provide the feedback. Don't sugarcoat it. They know what's wrong with their house. They just need to hear it. If somebody goes for the high price and all of a sudden everybody says that it's high priced, don't not tell them that people are viewing it as overpriced. The hardest, say that again, Jake. No, I thought Jake said something. Anyway. But the bottom line is once we understand this, we will win every single listing. How many people would like to know that when they walk into an appointment, they don't have any fear? They don't have any expectation other than I'm going to get this listing. That'd be cool. Know your TMOs. Study them on Mondays. Put time in your calendar to study the TMOs. Make that part of your CMAs. Okay. Anybody have any questions?
I do.
Sure. What do you got, Jake?
Okay, so I do have something to say now. I was yelling at the dog. The CMAs,
Yep.
have them ready before you go to the listing, even before they've got you signed up. I just want to make sure that
Know them. Yes. Know your CMAs.
do I show that to them or I just verbally tell them?
You can show it to them.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely. I don't ever lead with that.
Okay.
Oftentimes I don't even pull it out because I'm showing them what every buyer can see.
Okay.
And I put more emphasis on what every buyer can see versus what every realtor can see.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. We can definitely show it to them, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of agents will say, well, here's my CMA and these are the actives. Which
Mhm.
one is your house? I'll have 3 actives, 3 pendings, and 3 solds. And the 3 actives are what? They're your competition. So which one is your house most like? Is it like this one? Is it like this one? Or is it like this one? Great, then that gives us a price point. Or we know that appraisers they don't use actives. They only use solds. So pull out your solds and say, hey, which house is yours? Right? I also like in my CMA to pull out strategies. Look, this house overlisted and this person got it for 25 under list price. And it sat on the market for 3 months. And the hottest market we've ever had. Right? That could be the reason that I drive into the technology and what people see. Make it your own. Every listing appointment is different. Don't go in with a set, try to control the conversation, but don't go in with this is how I'm going to do it. Understand what type of person you're dealing with. Get familiar with DISC personality.
Yeah. Where do we find that?
Type
That
in,
was my question.
Yeah, I can't find it. I don't know where I'm supposed to find that.
type in Tony Robbins DISC profile in Google.
Okay.
Because fundamentally, if you walk into somebody who's a high D and driven, wants to be in and out, and you spend an hour and a half with them, you've probably lost the conversation.
Yeah.
Right.
So we need that. We really need that.
Mhm. Some of you are high Ds in this classroom, and this is driving you nuts and wanted me to shut up 2 hours ago. Right? Know what you're working with. Know who you're working with. Is there an S and a C, steady and cautious? Steady and cautious is great because they're going to make sure all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted before they go. Right? That's what we need to understand. There's a lot to this. Human nature. Get used to reading people. Empathizing, understanding people. Every objection is hit with, I understand where you're coming from. What if we were to look at it this way? Agree with them first and then point it out. Okay. How awesome is this? Who's
I have
ready
a
to?
question.
Yep.
I was looking at the TMO today, and I still don't understand how you use it to your advantage or what you would point out when using it for a listing presentation.
Okay, who was it? That was Emily.
Yeah.
Hi. So the TMO, and what it does is it shows you a 6-month snapshot of the area. It's broken down in the area of where you're looking. So if you have a house in like North Eugene at the top, right? So do you have one right there in front of you?
Yeah, I'm looking at Independence, but yeah, from last week and this week, August 1st and July 26th.
Okay, so you can take a look. What price point do you, after you do the CMA, then you kind of know a price point, correct?
Yeah.
Of what you're looking at or where you're going to list. Okay, so for instance, in this case, what price point would you look for?
I'm in between right now as far as 325 to 349.
Okay. So
yeah.
Is the next one up? The other option?
Below.
So the other one below.
Yeah, but everything's closing from, so if most of the items in my price point that my house is worth has been listed around 315 and being and then they're making 330 on it, say like 15 to 20,000 over.
Okay. I will also tell you this, and I believe some agents will argue with me, but they can argue till the cows come home. You can never underlist your house. So if you have any confusion or anything like that, any belief, shooting for the higher one, right? If it's your own personal house, the hardest part is to take away the emotion. And we want to get the higher price, but we also have to remember we want to put ourselves in the best position through the negotiating process. If we get the price we want and that's the only one at the table, you're compromising yourself throughout the negotiations, and you might have to put more money into the house, into repairs. It may not appraise.
Mm-hmm.
By bringing multiple people in, you strengthen your position throughout the entire negotiations. Does it change you as a buyer's agent if somebody tells you that, hey, we'd like to know if you went in the back, you won the offer, and I wanted to let you know that we went up against 5 other offers and we put 2 of them in backup positions. Just let me know when the inspections are going to happen. Does that change your point of view when dealing with that agent? As a buyer's rep, you're like, okay, I need to tell my clients there's 2 other backup offers. Therefore, they know the expectations when we go into the inspections. Those expectations are, at that point, we're not going to ask for the caulking around the tub. We're not going to ask for the little things. We're going to ask for the things that are regarding the health and safety of the house and the functionality of the house. Okay. Does that help? So if you're even if you're even questioning it, Google your address.
What these papers say. So I don't know. It's all confusing, but I'll figure it out.
No, say that again. You broke up.
Oh, it's confusing, but I'll figure it out. It just seems like you said she was like
as you, it's confusing, but I will tell you this. As you do your research on each property, the picture will become clearer. And you will see what the numbers are telling you, and then you tell that story. The hardest thing, and Jane can actually attest to this, oh, perfect. I will tell you this, selling your own house is very hard because it's emotional. You are tied to it. You have emotional. Look at what all of the information is telling you. Claim your house on Zillow. Why? Why? Because it may affect the algorithms and raise the price.
So you're not supposed to claim it?
You can claim it, just expect a phone call.
Okay.
They're going to say, hey, looks like you want to sell your house. Right? So they'll hit it. Right? Aisha, great job on the 2 videos. Yes. For TMOs, everybody click on those 2. Okay.
They're a little outdated because they're from like older markets, but it still kind of gives you an idea of what you're looking for.
I'm not licensed as a realtor in the state.
Perfect. Okay.
Right.
Does that make sense? It's 4 o'clock. Everybody, there's a whole lot to it. Make it your own. Okay. Take the emotion out of it. Change every seller to a buyer. Okay. Hope you've learned a lot. For those of you who are this is your first time, show up tomorrow. Don't quit. I know it was a lot, but knowledge is power. Okay. Thank you, everybody, spending your
Thanks,
Monday.
Matt.
Yep,
Thank
have a-
Matt.
yep,
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.
have a great week.
Have a good flight.
When do you come back?
Have a good vacation.
Sunday night.
Okay, so somebody else is doing script class this week?
Latasha is, and she's going to run it like she used to before we all got on Zoom for a year and a half.
Okay.
She's actually going to do it in the training room, and it's going to be read 5 times through. You're going to read the script 5 times through, and then basically you interpret it as yourself, and then you go in. So I'm not sure how much role play, but it's going to be
Okay.
great. It's a different way to do it, and it's a different way to learn. You may learn better, but that's the big thing. Okay.
Same link though?
What's that?
Same link?
Same link. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Everybody,
Thank you.
hits.
Have a fun vacation.
Yeah.
I
Thanks.
will. I'm going to see my best friend who I haven't seen in 3 years.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah.
Have fun.
I hope we're still best friends, but I don't know how people.
Time never passes with best friends.
Have a great week, everybody. Hey,
Bye.
make your calls. 10 calls a day. You never fail at real estate. Bye.
So I have one question.
Yeah.
So for the script project tomorrow, what subject we're gonna talk about?
I'm not sure what
Mhm.
link she's talking about. But what I will say is it's worth it no matter what, because you just don't know. It could be something totally random. They're all pertaining to real estate.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So it could be as easy. I told her to pick her favorite one. So you'll know in the morning.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. Sounds good.
Yeah. Bye
Yep.
bye.
What'd you think?
It's awesome. This is my first time.
Right?
It's really different than the time when you like taking the class,
Yep.
like with the instruction and show the PowerPoint. Now it's really different when you
Mhm.
into it.
Well, and I get more out of it not by following a lesson plan, but just knowing the process and giving you the wealth of knowledge. If you can answer all of those questions, you're going to be successful. There
Okay.
isn't just one way to do this business, because it depends on your client, and it depends on what's your client's personality. What is your avenue, right? What is it that you're going to do? What do they want to do, and how fast do they get there?
Okay.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Yep. Have a great rest of your night. Continue
Thank you.
learning, continue growing. Okay.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.